Hi, thank you so much for joining me for the acronym explanation series. My name is Jen, and I'm on a healing journey breaking free from the destructive patterns of disordered eating and embracing a nourishing lifestyle. I am using an original acronym of the word Nourisher to help guide my healing process. And in this series, I'm going to take a deep dive into each of the letters of the Nourisher acronym in order to explain it to you further. So thank you for joining me, and let's dig in. Hi everyone, I'm Jen, and thank you so much for joining me for the acronym explanation series. I am going to start today by taking a bit of a deeper dive into one of the letters of the acronym that I am using in order to help guide my recovery process from my previously destructive patterns of disordered eating and how I'm learning to embrace a nourishing, thriving lifestyle. So today we want to talk about the first letter, which is the letter N. The letter N in the acronym Nourisher stands for notice my emotions. So first of all, why is it imperative that we notice our emotions? Within the spectrum of eating disorders, so many of us who struggle with eating disorders have a very difficult time noticing, let alone labeling, the true emotions that we're feeling. Let me read a quote to you, and this is by Evonne Englezos, I think I said that wrong, and Sue Paton, who wrote the book To Eat or Not to Eat, A Woman's Guide to Overcoming Disordered Eating. And they write that we are extremely disconnected from our feelings when we struggle with disordered eating. The very job of the obsession with food or weight or body image is to keep us from being connected with our feelings. So what they're describing here is this scenario where, either due to lack of capacity or the fact of overwhelming pain, that we who struggle with disordered eating tend to disconnect from our feelings because we are not able to manage them. Disconnecting from them, and instead of focusing or processing those feelings, that focus or attention ends up getting put on the disordered eating behaviors, such as obsession with exercise or weight loss or body image or food, eating too much, too little, whatever the case may be. And so often the disordered eating patterns actually take the place of the focus on our emotions that really is the place where we need to be focusing in order to truly find healing. This has been incredibly true for me. As I started going through a process of emotional healing and recognition that I even felt emotions, I was bewildered to find out how many emotions were actually in me that I didn't even realize I was feeling. It was to the point where I was feeling physical pain that I had no idea that I was experiencing, because somehow my brain was trying to protect me by helping block it out. And one of the ways, perhaps as a child, that my brain helped to protect me was to fixate on food, rather than fixating on some of the other emotional pain that I may have been experiencing. So that was very kind of my body to do for me when I was small, but now that same behavior wreaks havoc in my relational life, in my physical life, in my emotional and spiritual life, and I need to learn how to actually recognize what emotion I'm feeling and process it. So that is easier said than done. There are some different strategies that we can use in order to help with this process. But before I say that, let me give one more metaphor to help us think about emotions. I see emotions kind of like energy or electricity. And when you have electricity going through the wires in your home, there's three different things that can happen to that electricity. The electricity can either go healthily through the wire and to its intended destination, and it can power that item. It can be used very productively. It can keep our food cold by powering the refrigerator, or help you turn on your stereo to listen to music. The energy can be harnessed and can be used productively. Or if you had a cut in the wire, it could be used as a live wire, and in which case the electricity would be coming through the wire and spewing out the other end, could cause burns, could cause could cause, electric shock. Very, very dangerous scenario. And this is what happens when our emotions are totally unregulated and are pointed out towards the world and other people. And we can be very, very damaging and hurtful to other people if we allow these emotions to just be totally unregulated, which is what maybe you see in a 2-year-old who doesn't yet know how to regulate their emotions, and they're flailing on the floor or biting their baby sister or whatever the case may be. The other option that we see often, and that maybe would be closer to my experience and how it relates to my eating disorder, is when the electricity kind of comes back to the motherboard and blows the motherboard. It doesn't go to its productive end, but it actually ends up blowing a breaker, blowing a fuse, kind of staying internal and combusting that way. And this is what I find so often happens to me, or what my pattern has been, is I allow that emotion. Sometimes I don't even feel it or recognize I'm feeling it, and yet I'm already stuffing it inside, suppressing it, repressing it, and it's kind of internally combusting on the inside, which rather than in the live wire damaging people around, it's actually internally damaging me. And then this works it out in all different kinds of physical ways and physical ailment. For me, this is when I turn to, rather than process that emotion, I turn to food to be soothed, calmed, have joy or excitement. And this can be very, very devastating. So as you can see, there is hope. Electricity can be used productively, and so can our emotions. Our emotions can be used productively in order to build intimacy and trust and relationship, in order to help us know ourselves better and help us to act in more protective, kind, caring ways, both for ourselves and to the people in the community around us. So how do we make that leap? How do we say, okay, I want to choose to let these emotions be productive, to let them inform me, not control me? And how do we do that? A couple of things that I would suggest, and that you'll see me in my daily Nourisher check-ins, you'll see me interact with a lot. The first one is by Dr. Dan Siegle, who is a professor of psychiatry at UCLA and a very, very helpful speaker and author. And one of his recommended kind of cliche exercises is called Name It to Tame It. And all you're doing here is you are noticing the feeling, noticing it in the way that your body is feeling it. So often we feel our emotions and we hold them in different parts of our bodies. Some people clench their jaw, some people get headaches, some people, it's like, for me, it's like an anvil on my chest, like it feels like something's literally pressing down on my chest. Other people can get knots or nausea feeling in their stomach, or tighten other muscle or body groups. It can affect your digestion. There's so many different ways that our body holds this stress. So noticing it in our body, noticing what's happening in our thoughts, noticing what's happening in our other emotional responses. And once we notice it, we want to name it. I'm feeling sadness right now, or I notice anxiety. I notice grief, or I'm feeling embarrassed, or whatever the case may be. And to have a list nearby on your phone, wherever, to actually help you maybe identify some of those feelings can be very, very helpful, and has been a very helpful strategy for me. So after you've named it, you will automatically, actually statistically they say that up to 50% of the stress can be relieved just by naming it. Chris Coursey from a ministry called Thrive Today takes it one step further, and he says that we need to feel the pain, share the pain, quiet the pain. And what this does is similar to Dr. Siegle. To feel the pain, that's that portion of feeling it in my body, feeling it in my mind, and identifying it. At that point, you want to share the pain. And this is, if you have a spiritual journey, this would be sharing it with God, with a trusted, safe loved one who can attune to you and help feel that together with you, and also sharing it with yourself. Then you go on to quieting the pain. And this can be a number of different quieting exercises, such as deep breathing, or There's different grounding exercises or mindfulness exercises that you can do. Journaling is very helpful. If you're a person of faith, you could do what's called the manual journaling approach, which I can put down in the comments. There's a number of different tools that we can use to help quiet, because what happens is our actual parasympathetic system, the system in our body that helps us to rest and to digest, is turned off, and instead our fight, flight, or freeze response, our high adrenaline response, takes over when we're feeling these big emotions. And so we need to help switch off the fight, flight, or freeze high intensity response and help to get some more calming hormones and neurochemistry helping in our favor for us to quiet that emotion and process it and learn from it. So I hope that this gives you an idea of why noticing the emotions is so critical in our healing journey. For me, it is the number one thing that helps me walk towards healing and wholeness, is actually learning how to notice my emotions and then how to quiet them, not to stuff them. This isn't about stuffing them, but it's listening to them, learning from them, and helping them to quiet and soothe. They say that the number one predictor for mental health is whether or not you're able to quiet and soothe a racing mind. And on the contrary, the number one predictor of many of the most common mental health struggles come from people who ruminate, who can't turn the brain off from some of those more distressing emotions. So this is our goal, is to notice those emotions and to help build capacity to go from a place of distress to coming back to a place of quiet and joy, not discounting the truth of the negative emotions or the difficult things of life, but to help our bodies actually to cope with them, our minds, our spirits to cope with, and to come to a place of better resolution. So please join me for one of our next videos where we will do a deeper dive into each of the letters of the acronym. All my very best to you.